Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. Today we're going to look at a detailed dive at character animation in Blender, and let's get started. Okay, so I've got this scene in Dump Run, the short film that I've been working on, and I've just laid out the rough blocking, the rough layout of how this is going to play out. And I'm looking at this first shot, and in this first shot, I've got these tired robots. They're going to be walking down the hallway, and then our hero is going to pop out of the escape hatch, run into one of the guys, and we're going to move on with the story. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to focus in on just this part right now. And I'm going to talk about how I would take this rough blocking where I've just established like a vibe with the poses and a central idea of like where they're moving and how things are going to play out. How I'd move from this to a more detailed animation. And so what I want to try and end up with is a tired looking robot that's kind of limping down the hallway. So how would I do that with a little group like this? And how would we use the graph editor and how would we use the dope sheet to pull that off? So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, again, so just to walk you through my layout, I've got my dope sheet down at the bottom. I've got only show selected turned off, and I've got show hidden turned on, so I can see everything in my scene. I've got the graph editor set up with Control Tab, so I can just pop. Where is it? There it is. Control Tab, so I can pop between it. And the graph editor is set to only show selected, so I can just focus on one thing in the graph editor. And then I've got the edit preferences. We're going to go to animation, and I've got, where is it? Only shows selected curve keyframes. That is turned on. Very, very helpful. I also have unselected opacity turned way down. That will help with the graph editor. Just make it really clear. So, and then the only other thing I have is edit preferences, and we're going to go to interface, no, key map. And I've got tab for pie menu turned on. So that way I can hit tab and get this little pie menu that I can go to different modes really easily. All right, great. Now to speed up my workflow, I'm just going to focus on one robot. I might be able to salvage some of this animation and reuse it with these other guys. So I'm just going to focus on this lead hero bot that's going to get hit. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the other guys. I'm going to turn off all my other characters. And the reason for that is that Blender works with rigs and armatures well, but it's slow. So whenever an armature is deforming vertexes in your scene, you're going to have a real hit to your performance. So if you're working on some detailed animation that involves just one character, and if you've got other characters on screen, it's usually a good idea just to go ahead and hide everything else so you just have the one character that you can focus on so you can get the best playback possible. Now in my little drop down up here, I'll make sure I've got text info turned on for the what is it called? Show overlays. I've got a lot of other stuff turned off, but I've got bones visible and outlines selected visible. And I think I'll just leave it at that so I can really just focus in on what's important. Now you'll see over here, I'm getting 25 frames a second roughly for my playback. So now that I've got really good consistent frame rate, I know that I'm looking at an accurate representation of the animation. Now to help my timeline just focus on what's important, I'm going to use the preview key. I'm going to hit P. P will let me draw a box on my dope sheet. So I'm going to draw a box from here at the beginning, right around here to where my camera cut is, and just before it. You can see I get this like orange, dark orange kind of coloration, and then we have this normal colored area. This basically shows Blender, or tells Blender to replay just this section. So you can see it's going to keep going back and replaying it. Now, what's also important is that I animate to the camera. That's really useful. You want to make sure you animate in a way that you're able to see what your camera sees, so you know that you're not wasting animation, stuff that might be off frame or something. So I can see really clearly this character's in frame. It's looking good. So, all right, let's go ahead and break down how we're going to go through this process. I'm going to go into pose mode. And what I want to do is I'm going to keep this view of my camera up, and I'm going to have another view over here where I can punch out of that camera and move around freely. So I just unlocked my camera to view so I can easily focus. I'm just going to come up here. Now, the first thing I want to think about are what are the key poses of this action? And I want to embody this tired feeling. So I want to have a robot that's kind of limping, right? And he's got this kind of, lopsided move to him. So I'm going to define the key steps in this walk cycle and try and get that timing to feel correct. Okay. Now at the moment, he's animating forward on his root controller. So I just I'm going to select all of his bones, and I can't see them all at the moment. So I'm going to come down here to the armature button, and I'm going to come here to viewport, and I'm going to click in front. And that will allow me to always see all the bones, even if they're behind things like under the floor. So I can select this controller here, and then I'm going to hit Control Tab in my dope sheet to switch over to my graph editor. And this will let me just have a look. If I hit A to select all the channels, and then A again over here to select all the curves, and then the full stop key to jump, I can visualize what I'm looking at. And I want to have a look at the master. So the X, Y, and Z position of the master. And this is going to show me what's going on. I can see here I've got a lot of movement here on the Y and a little bit on the X and hardly any on the Z. If I look at this from above, we should see that he's mostly moving forward, but he'll have a slight drift off to one side. We'll go back to the beginning here. Make sure I've got auto key turned on, and I'm going to hit K to set a key, and I'm going to do the whole character. That will key all the bones, even the invisible ones. I'm going to select the top level here, Worker Droid, and this key over here. So I've got all of his keys, and then I'm going to right-click on these and go Interpolation Constant. That way, he's not going to be interpolating between these two positions. He's just going to pop there. This will let me kind of cleanly think about the different poses. Thinking about the timing. So how long is each step? About 2 seconds each. So 24 frames a second, 2 seconds is 48. So he'll take 2 steps by the time he's here. So it's going to be 1, 2. So we'll finish a walk cycle within this amount of time. Constant. In fact, we can come up here to Edit, References, we go to Animation, and we can set the default interpolation to constant just for now, and that will help us just cleanly work. And I'm just going to find that frame 48, and I'll set a key, because that'll get us to the right spot. That's about like right in the middle. So I can hit K, and I'm going to do location. Now I can grab these guys and go back to constant. Now I've got the stair step, and that middle key is going to be in the right spot. So I need to have 2 steps by the time we get to here. So we've got 1 step, 2 steps. So we're going to end up in a similar position with this foot forward and that foot back. Okay, so we could keep this pose here. So let's go K whole character, and then let's go halfway. So go to that 24 frame mark. Right here, what we can do is we can grab this foot. And we need to think about him as if he's moving in place, right? Like his feet are sliding on the floor, because we're moving his root controller as his main master. So think about this central axis right down the middle for him. Okay, so he's lifted his foot up, and this one's gone back. And it's going to be, is it about halfway? I think so, yeah. So let's grab this one back about halfway. And then this one, bring forward like this. Then I'm going to rotate this guy. Great. All right. Now, I want to think about the timing. So I'm going to go halfway between the first and the last key. And I'll go ahead and grab myself a linear key here. So I can just grab these, go to linear, grab this, K, location, grab these, go back to constant. And right here, what I want to do is think about the way he's going to be moving his feet. So what I can do is I can select this controller, I can Shift S, I can go cursor to selected. Just going to make sure my cursor is visible. And when I come to here, I can Shift S selection to cursor, and that's going to be the correct spot. See how it looks like it's staying still now? And then here, this foot is going to come up. That might bring his body up as well. Not too much. Now he's tired, so I don't want him lifting this far. He needs to kind of be dragging his feet. Bring this down, keep his weight down. Maybe even like keeps his foot to get to that pose. So this foot, we're going to keep it still. So I'm going to Shift S, cursor to selected. And I'm going to go forward, and we need to come out to this level and find the halfway point again. And I'm going to grab the master once more, grab these, interpolation linear, grab that master controller, K, location. Grab these guys again, right click interpolation constant. And now we can come here to this and we go Shift S selection to cursor. So that will keep that foot stationary. And then here, cursor, so selection to cursor. And again, this is a bit far. You might be able to overcome that by bringing him down a bit, but I'm worried that it's just a bit too much. So this land needs to come forward. So let's again do the same kind of approach. We'll bring it forward till it makes sense. Shift S, cursor to selected. We come back. Shift S, selection to cursor. And then Shift S, selection to cursor. Let's adjust that body a little bit. So this is kind of like that first pass. Like we get that rough blocking, and now we've got the rough kind of key poses. Now we can start thinking about timing and what are called breakdown poses. Breakdown poses really define the timing. It's kind of like, how long does it take for him to lift his foot off the ground, for example? Is it just a straight linear lift, or is it boom, that kind of a feel? So let's put some character into this walk. Shorten my preview section so we just look at this bit. And let's go in between these. See how each time I kind of pick the midpoint between a set of keys. I'm going to come here, and once again I'll grab my master. Don't need to grab all of them, but K location and right click constant. Okay, so which one's the stationary foot? It's so cursor to selected. All right, so the question is, how long does it take him to lift his foot up? When we're halfway through, is he equally, between this pose and this pose, right? Or is he something different? So let's try something. If I just take this pose, let's say he's really lagging on the lift, right? So his foot kind of stays here. Let's like maybe do a little bit of this. Maybe this. And then we get to here. We get to this point, we can take maybe the toe and give it a bit of lag, like it's curling like that. And then same, we can come to this midpoint here and go to that key, go ahead and plant the foot, selection to cursor. And this question is, how long does it take him to slap his foot down? Do a lot here. We can try, I'm going to kind of flop it a little bit. So what do you want to look for? As you can see in this little bit of animation here, is we're breaking it down sort of, in halves, more and more. And we're thinking about what's the timing of it? How long does it take him to lift his foot? How quickly does he plant it? And then we're looking for arcs, lots of arcs in the motion. So watch this foot. See how it goes up and arcs down. It's a real clean kind of arc. Same with his body. His head kind of goes up and down. I mean, that makes sense in the sense of walk cycles, but it's just a really good principle to keep in mind. Keep things moving in arcs as you path through stuff. See how I'm avoiding turning these into Beziers as well for as long as possible. I'm trying to really get a lot of control out of this animation by creating these poses in this stepped form. I could really just think about the motion. We should probably go ahead and spline this now to see how it looks. So let's go ahead and grab this. We're going to grab this top level, grab all these guys, and we're going to right click interpolation, and we're going to go Bezier. Let me go into the graph editor and let A to select all the bones, and let's just take a look at what we've got. Now, first thing to do is to kind of have a glance at all your curves, just look for any weird motion, but everything looks pretty fine. Like there's no bizarre lines or anything. Now the feet, I don't want them to slow down. I want them to kind of go, whoop. So when they land, I want them to be a bit more aggressive with their curves. So I'm going to bring this up and bring this up, and I can show you what I mean. Let's go to the first footfall. So he's going to gradually come up, and then right here, this point, I'm going to take these guys, and I'm going to hit SX0. I will just flatten him out. Even take this side right here, shift box like that, so we just have those curves, and we could scale them into the individual centers. Well, thanks so much for watching. Hope you learned some cool things about animation and how to push some detail into your work. Hope you really enjoyed this and you learned a lot. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know any questions you have and let you think of this animation so far. I bet you could do a lot better. Hit that like button and subscribe as well to the channel so you can find out when I've got more stuff coming out. Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget, you can check out the Patreon where you can get all the uncut versions of all the tutorials, including an uncut version of this one, which goes into a lot more detail and I show everything that I do to get to this point. So go check that out. Likewise, check out all the Dump Run content. I've got this entire short film up on YouTube. You can watch every single step I've done to make the whole thing. So go check that out and check out the Blender Marketplace as well, where I've got the Dump Run product, which has all the assets and project files, all the stuff that I've used to make it. So you can get a hold of all that stuff to make the film yourself or to do a sequel or do whatever you want with it. So thanks so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, have a fantastic week. See you later.